If you're of a certain age, Dunkaroos were at the top of the cafeteria lunch dessert food chain. But fast forward to the present, and they haven't just faded into childhood memories, they've also faded off grocery store shelves. Here's why. Dunkaroos first showed up in the lunchboxes of American schoolchildren in 1988. Their heyday was in the 90s, and their surge in popularity was helped along by commercials featuring a very energetic kangaroo. They were huge throughout the decade and held on to a devoted following into the 2000s. But they started to become harder and harder to find even before US production was halted in 2012. When a fan asked Betty Crocker why sales were discontinued, a representative responded, "There are many factors that go into the decision to discontinue a product, and we regret that you're disappointed with the discontinuation of Dunkaroos." It seems that the biggest factor was that Dunkaroos were holding on to an increasingly small market share thanks mostly to nostalgia alone. And no amount of nostalgia counts when it's up against a slow but steady decline in sales and mainstream popularity. A huge part of Dunkaroos' popularity had to do with their kangaroo mascots. The original one was named Sydney, but that changed in 1996 when a competition resulted in the more sporty Duncan. But here's the thing. Both Sydney and Duncan were clearly targeting kids, and their commercials were airing at a time when organizations like the FTC were paying close attention to what kind of messages were being beamed toward those impressionable little minds. There was a lot of talk about just how commercials advertising high-sugar, high-fat foods were contributing to childhood obesity. Even though campaigns to remove these ads were less than successful, it was still a conversation likely to stick in parents' heads. Consider Dunkaroos' North of the Border saga. They were discontinued in Canada in 2018, not long after regulations took effect in 2015 that established new restrictions on advertising unhealthy treats directly to children under 12. Dunkaroos were undoubtedly delicious, but they were also so bad for you. One package of the chocolate chip cookie Dunkaroos with chocolate frosting had 120 calories, 4.5 grams of fat, and a whopping 13 grams of sugar, along with absolutely no helpful vitamins and nutrients whatsoever. That might not sound like much, but the American Heart Association guidelines for kids say otherwise. The AHA repeatedly stresses that added sugars are a serious problem, recommending that kids between 2 and 18 should have less than 25 grams of sugar per day. That little pack of Dunkaroos contains more than half their daily recommended sugar intake, and given how many other places sugar is hiding, that's far from a healthy snack. Dunkaroos presented a huge image problem for General Mills. When the Canadian branch of the company agreed to restrict its children's advertising campaign to promote only products that fell within healthy guidelines, Dunkaroos had to go. And besides, by the time the initiative rolled around in 2014, it had already been about 10 years since they had spent any money marketing Dunkaroos anyway. But the company did invest in one last-ditch effort to save the product. Dunkaroos had been discontinued in the US for a few years at this point, and General Mills was well aware of the fact that some particularly devoted fans were heading up to Canada to get their Dunkaroos fix. So they decided to encourage it with their Smuggleroos campaign. Targeted at adults, it involved a website where Canadians willing to buy Dunkaroos and take them to their American neighbors could sign up to find a south-of-the-border buddy in need. The idea was to save Dunkaroos and create some serious buzz, but unfortunately, it didn't seem to have the desired effect. General Mills has said they're not going to be bringing Dunkaroos back, but buried in the depths of the internet is something strange. On September 17, 2018, a company called Retro Brands USA LLC filed for a Dunkaroos trademark. It was described under the heading of cereal-based snack foods, and that seemed to at least have the potential to be a shining beacon of hope for Dunkaroos fans everywhere. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for the application to be put on hold. In April 2019, Bloomberg reported that General Mills was taking Retro Brands to court for breach of contract over its trademark filing. The details of the whole thing are a little vague, but while it seems like General Mills is taking its intellectual property very seriously, it might also indicate that the company's not about to let Dunkaroos come back in any form. Sorry, fans. It's terrible to be the bearer of bad news, but look on the bright side. You'll always have the Dunkin' memories. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more mashed videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.